One thing I just want to touch on here real quick, I've got one feature that's going to be launching here over the next week that everybody probably got a message about yesterday in regards to how we're condensing some of the add contact, add beneficiary type buttons. But just in general, there's a lot of familiar faces. I see some people who are not yet users that are on here. So I want to just make sure that we talk about like what are the main reasons that people use Lead Champ Pro. Number one on the front end, it's helping you book more appointments. One of the cool things about Lead Champ Pro that I think is different than a lot of other CRMs out there, we built Go High Level is the engine that's underneath, but what we've added on top and custom developed, Josh completely custom coded our AI appointment setting bot on the front end. We used to partner up with another company that was kind of an out of the box solution that was great for marketing agencies and it did a lot of things, but it didn't do exactly what we needed as insurance agents. And this is allowing us to do even more customized stuff here in the future. So not only are we, have our appointment setting bot, but we are, continuously trying to work on, how can we help with, the AI with rescheduling and making sure that that's going well? And how can we have a customer service type bot? So when a client answers, so right now, currently on the front end, you've got an AI bot that's going to help you set appointments. And then on the back end, we talk about hitting the what happened button. Logging your sales, dispositioning your leads, all of that stuff. Everything in this system happens when you hit the what happened button. Um, right now, if we look across all of our users, we've seen about an average of a 10% increase in persistency across 18 months, which is pretty cool, that we have that much data. We've had LeadChamp going now for about 2.5 years. We've got other users like Josh who saw a 20% increase in persistency, which is just unheard of. That transition from in-home to telesales, and then doing it at a high level. All of it counts. Talk about the Verify My Underwriter website. When you're doing telesales, the most common thing is people don't trust you. They don't know who you are. So what a great way to be able to share that you are who you say you are. So there are many, many features inside of the system. I'm not going to go on a huge rant about it, but the one that I do want to talk about, which is not a new feature, but it is a new way in which you can access that feature. Up in the top right corner, and some of you guys have this so far. We're rolling it out kind of one by one. Some of you guys do not have this yet. We've had the add contact, add beneficiary, add referral, add ERN, and you guys know, adding contact easy, put them into a workflow, add beneficiary. I think we've got a few people on the call here. I think is Nicolette on here? Yeah, Nicolette's on here. Her team, Christina Andi, we saw her from stage at Ignite last year, and she talked about adding beneficiaries, and it changed the game for all of our users. So shout out to Christina. When you have a beneficiary on an application, all you do is just go click the add beneficiary button, and it will put them into a workflow. It'll text them, hey, Nicolette, this is Jamie. I'm Christina's insurance agent. She put you down as a beneficiary in your policy. When you have 4 minutes to walk through it. So that's an exciting button that we put in place, as well as the add referral, add ERN to create basically free leads off of every appointment. The thing that I want to show you guys is that we have condensed these 4 buttons down into one button. So under the add contact button, you'll see that this is now changed to what kind of contact is this? So now, as opposed to filling out one of 4 different forms, you got one form where you can input a lead, an existing customer, referral, beneficiary, emergency response network. The one that is not has not been available to you guys up until this point is how to add a single customer. So somebody from the past that you're like, yeah, of course we know we can hit the what happened button moving forward, but you're like, I've got a book of business with maybe 20 clients on it. Maybe I'm a newer agent. Well, you can manually input clients one by one now. So you can put in all their policy info, their insurance product, et cetera, their beneficiary payment date, client inventory, and it's going to put them into our payment reminders, birthday cards, all that stuff. So previously, the only way that you could do this was by uploading a spreadsheet and doing it on the bulk way, our book of business transfer list, which you still can do. And if you have more than 20 clients, you really should do it that way. It's much more efficient. But if you got 5, 10 clients and you just want to get them in the system where it doesn't make sense for you to give them a congrats, you've been approved message, and you just want to get them in the system, this is the best way to go ahead and get a customer into the system. Otherwise, again, you can use this. So I want to go add a beneficiary. Okay, great. Based on how you change the form, it's going to change, what the answers are, which client referred. So this is very important. So if Derek is my client and Derek refers his daughter, I need to make sure that I type Derek's name in here first, and then what's his relationship to that person, and then it will continue to go from there. And this is obviously his daughter's name, so I would put his daughter's name up here, and then which client referred, I put Derek's name down here. The relationship, and then it's going to send, his daughter a message on Derek's behalf, introducing myself as Derek's insurance agent and letting her know that she's the beneficiary. And when can we go over this thing? If she responds, AI will take it over and put that on your calendar. What we've seen specifically with beneficiaries, and I just want to bring this back, and I'll let Nick actually announce our beneficiary contest winners here in a second. For every 10 beneficiaries put into the system, we're seeing an average of a 50% booking rate, which is wild. So put in 10, five book with you. And then, of course, it's going to be, down to the agent who understands how to work a beneficiary. But for me personally, if I put in 10, I book five, I'll sell two or three. Like that's typically how it's worked for me. So again, I've gone through seasons of putting in beneficiaries on every sale. I've gone through seasons of being like, stop being lazy and grabbing one beneficiary and being like, let's put in all four of your kids and get all their phone numbers and create four new leads. And I've also, gotten lazy and not asked about beneficiaries at all. Every time that you do this, you create a brand new lead, you create a conversation, and worst case scenario, you share your information with that person and they know if something happens to their parent, what they can do to go ahead and get the policy taken care of. Maybe you don't make a sale every time, but it seems like 50% of the people that book an appointment are buying some insurance, which is great. So the ad beneficiary is huge. And then, of course, you guys know ad referral, ad ERN. I'm not going to go over that super in depth, but I will pass it back to Nick to talk about our beneficiary contest winners. And just in general, guys, if you don't see, when you click on this, if it's the old button and your ad beneficiary, referral, ERN are all working still, you just have your update hasn't happened yet. When you'll know the update has happened is, of course, when you see that new drop down. And if you try to go add beneficiary referral, you're going to get like a 404 error. That's when you'll know that your button has been taken care of. We basically have to have everybody updated. And then when everyone's updated, these three buttons, beneficiary, referral, and ERN, are going to be deleted. They will no longer be in the system, and you will just have the add contact where you can do everything in one spot. What's up, Dylan? How we doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good, man. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. It's been great to see you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, so if you've been here for a long time and you get to come on here and train on one of these calls, we'll wait a while, but we will bring you on again. And we're bringing Dylan back around because it's definitely worth it to hear what he's been doing. Over $1 million in annuity production, one single case, over 800,000, which is great. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, how he discovered those things, what he does to identify big cases, what he does to identify, cases in general, and kind of how he's transitioned through this business. So we'll kind of start there, Dylan. Tell us a little bit about, I obviously know you, probably not well enough, like to know you even better, but tell me a little bit more about your journey, how you got started in insurance, and then like with the theme of like you started off probably selling general life insurance, and at one point you made that transition to IULs, and that ultimately led you to, being able to identify annuities, help clients kind of in a most more advanced way. Let's just talk a little bit about kind of what that whole journey has looked like.
My past sales experience, I've been in phone sales probably about 15 years. The last, before this, about 5 or 6 of it was in mortgages. Started from the bottom there, built a team up as a director at Rocket Mortgage, and kind of just went from there. Um, I got really sick of being a number, just kind of coming into the corporate world, saying, working every month, trying to get the next commission check instead of actually building up something for myself and residual. And then fast forward, it came to, I won't name names on this call, but I went to a captive agency and found out real quickly within like a month or two that that's not really my like what I wanted to do. It felt really like sleazy, just felt wrong and just like bait and switch. And so I actually left and went back to mortgages for like a month, really realized I don't want to be tied to like a 10% interest rate. Hit up my upline, came in, and then started on like some really, really old, like 3-year-old age Alaska leads and like turned 100 of those into like one, which it charged back, obviously, right? But that kickstarted me, and I used that money to catapult my business and get ethos leads, and then that built up more of a income, and then I used that to mortgage protection. Found out really fast I don't want to do mortgage protection because I was sick of explaining the differences between mortgage protection at life and mortgage protection on your actual loan. And at the time, nobody was doing IULs. And so I took it into myself. I'm like, I want to be different than everyone else. I want to learn something that no one else is doing. And this is talking about numbers. And I love number cells because the math is the math and it just makes sense. And when you can really take something that's super complicated and simplify it, it really starts opening up your eyes to a lot of things. And then you can stick to one lead source and really truly like hone your skills in that. You can pivot to a different lead source because you can kind of tell when things are not going how they should be. Where I feel like too many people will just diversify too many different lead types. But that's who I am as a start. So,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, now, like, as you've continued to transition, it's like, I always tell people, like, you have to evolve in this business. Like, when I first got started, I started off running Facebook final expense leads, and then that transitioned into internet leads, and then that transitioned into direct mail mortgage protection, and then ultimately a bunch of different lead vendors online, run their own IUL ads. And at the end of the day, there's a few things. Like, one, as you transition through this business, I've been here for almost 6 years, and I don't think I've ever held a single lead vendor for over like a year and a half or 2 years. Times change, things change, what's hot changes. You could be all in on IULs, and then everybody's all in on IULs, supply and demand, and the ads, go off a cliff, and then everyone goes, I want truckers, and then IULs pop back up, and then it's like everyone wants mortgage, then mortgage sucks. So like this business does come in waves, but again, like the person who's like super jumpy and just kind of diversifies and jumps to everything over time, they never can get into a real flow. So two sides to this is one, like we have to be like willing to like stick it out enough to like actually have the data to make sure something's working and not just jump, as soon as, you see one day where, ad cost goes up, and you panic. But then two, as we're kind of going through this, as we've transitioned, like for me, I don't want to go back to internet leads. I don't want to go back to Facebook final expense. Not saying I wouldn't like take everything from me right now and say, Jamie, you're on the street and you got $1,000, and if your kids are going to stay on the street unless you call internet leads, I'm calling internet leads, and I've developed a skill set. But when you develop a skill set, Grady talks about the time money pendulum. And it's like in the beginning, you have a lot of time, not a lot of money. So you call aged leads and you have to call a lot more of them to get people on the phone. Then you get to a point where you kind of paid your dues a little bit, where you can pay for people who are raising their hand just a little bit higher, who are like, hey, call me right now. And that also turns into larger premium too. So when I first got started, my average premium was like $700 annual. And then my second year, my average premium was 2,200. And then now my average premium is 3,300 a policy. So like if your average premium is not growing year over year, like you're not growing. If your lead sources aren't evolving, so, like for instance, that could mean, moving on from like more simple case design on like a final expense policy into things like IUL leads, trucker leads, whatever those things are that allow you to meet with, more affluent type clients. Um, or it's, getting really good at doing beneficiary leads, referrals, etc., like annual reviews. Like there's one person who was a mentor of mine in the business who he sold for 7 years. And then he never bought a lead again because he just literally lived on annual reviews off like a book of business and 2,000 clients of annual reviews and referrals. So it's like you have to evolve in the business. If we're not evolving, we've got a problem. So if you look at your annual premium, it's not going up. If you look at your case sizes and they're not going up, if you look at, are you adding on IULs and finding annuity opportunities? Like we've got a problem. We have to continue to grow in the business. So, talk to us a little bit about that transition. So you get into IULs, and obviously you've written some big cases for IULs. You've written some complicated cases where people have, funded them with big lump sums. Like where did you kind of have the light bulb moment go off for annuities? And like where did you really start? Because I think that's what intimidates most people is where to start.
I just started by failing, like to be honest. Like, like you can hit up all these people, you can do all the YouTube videos, all the things, and some people overcomplicate it, some people don't. I started with IULs though. Like the IULs kind of like I feel like the bread and butter to introducing you to annuities because it's literally the exact same thing. It's just tailored for a retirement account. And so when you get used to IULs and going through the illustrations and learning everything you can about an IUL and just playing around in the illustrations, it's a really, really easy pivot to go to annuities. There's just some other crazy app stuff you gotta learn. But the conversation's roughly the same. It's just they get slightly different perks. And so that's what I did is I just started slow and then I had a couple 150, 200K annuity conversations. I never closed those when I first started annuities. I wasn't I wasn't versed in it yet. I didn't have that skill set yet. And so I started like little 20K ones and like 10Ks and 50K. And then next, I had a couple more of those 100K ones. I got more confidence and I got more comfortable. And then, 4 months ago, we closed an 800K one. And so it just keeps compounding as long as you just don't give up and you just keep learning and be a sponge and you'll find it eventually. It's just I don't feel like enough people get at bats at it or give themselves a chance.
Yeah. Well, I think at bats is probably one of the most important parts of the conversation because people will go and they'll see, Dylan closed a $800,000 annuity, and I think Sheila had a fat one last year that was like 1 million or 2 million, and it's like they see that and they get excited about it and they see what that commission was and how it can change your life, and then they go annuity hunting, they go whale hunting, and what ends up happening is they end up without anything because they're just hunting whales and they're not getting the volume. Like Josh and
Yeah.
I would call that like you're swinging for the fences, but you're missing like the ones and twos. You're missing the singles and the doubles. So it's like, yeah, we need to be, of course, identifying and finding these big cases, but we can't skip over, the $200 a month Americo Eagle. We can't skip over the $300 a month IULE on the way. So the only way that you find these things. So, I mean, the people that I've seen find the most success with annuities are typically working either mortgage protection leads or some version of an IUL lead. And what ends up happening is they're trying to sell a mortgage protection policy, they're trying to sell an IUL policy, they're having a conversation, and they ask the golden question, and they find that this person has a lump sum of money sitting around that's qualified to be able to be rolled over into an annuity, and then they're able to have the confidence to have that conversation. But, you know, I know, from talking to other agents, you can ask the golden question a bunch of times and it goes absolutely nowhere. But if you never ask the golden question, it's guaranteed to go nowhere. But it's like, again, we need that number of at bats. So if I've got 100 IUL leads coming in a week, I've got opportunities. You don't really hear about agents working annuity leads. It's not that they don't exist, they absolutely do exist. They're quite expensive. But again, the people who work annuity leads, in my personal opinion, that are successful at it, they're top 1% annuity producers where they don't need a bunch of swings. That's like if you tell me right now, I've been selling for 5, 6 years, it's probably same for you. All I really need is my appointments to show up. Show rate is the number one problem that most of us have. They show up, I'm going to close 60, 70, 80% of them if they just show up. But um, when it comes to an annuity or a complicated IUL sale, a lot of the times that's a multi-step appointment. That's not a one call close. And if it's a one call close on an annuity, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So in a scenario like this, you do have to have a lot of at bats. So like for you, like you've had a lot of at bats, you kind of failed your way forward. One of the things we talked about before this call was like in those at bats, like what are you doing to identify if they're someone worth asking that question to? Like, what questions are you asking on the front end, and then how are you identifying them and trying to find these, lumps of money that are laying around?
Yeah, so it's a little I probably do a little bit different than most people. And so I go through my same IUL presentation. I feel like 90% of us all use the same variation of how I explain an IUL. And but I still allow storytelling, so I bring up like, hey, do you know what a 401k is? Because I use that to bridge how an IUL works with the without losing money, right? And
Hmm.
at that point, like they're telling me their whole life story. Like, yeah, I have a 401k with my work, or yeah, I used to have a 401k. And I just dive in a little deeper. I'm like, okay, like, do you get a match with that currently? And if they say they get a match, then I'm like, great. Hey, keep doing that because that's free money. And I just make a note and I leave it aside where I know, like, hey, this is probably not going to be an annuity because it's already with their employer, but I can still drop little egg cells, right? Where if they say, hey, yeah, I have an IU, a 401k or some kind of account with stock market or like not with the employer, an old one, then I'm just asking them again, like, hey, cool, like that's great, keep having that something on the side. I'm just making notes. I don't dive in right then and there. I'm just putting it as the back burner of like, hey, I need to circle back to this, but not right now because it's going to overcomplicate things when I'm still trying to explain the IUL. And then
Yeah.
I dive in from there. I'm just basically having conversations like, hey, you can put lump sums into an IUL from a tax return, all 401k, savings account, stuff like that. But once the IUL is all sold, I already have the trust. I just circle back and tell him, hey, that 401k that you told me you have, what if I could show you something that does the same thing as an IUL, but it's tailored and built specifically for your retirement account, where you don't have lose any money, you get up to a 20% return, and it protects your family from probate and pays it out tax-free if something happens to you. Are you open to a conversation with that? And they're always going to say yes because I already built the trust. And then I just pivot into the illustration, and then that $100 IUL policy was an $800,000 annuity. Like,
Yeah,
so,
100%. I remember I am not the person to talk to about annuities, but I remember um sitting in a home specifically and doing a mortgage protection policy, and the person was like, I was going through the financial inventory, and it's like, do you have anything, that acts like life insurance, blah 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 blah, 401k, IRA, this and that. The guy's like, yeah, I got like $1 million on the side. And my eyes got huge. And then completely abandoned the mortgage protection appointment and just went all in on this $1 million and then ended up losing both.
mhm,
So it's like one of the main keys is like, remember why you're there. Like, again, if it's an annuity appointment, like, you know why you're there. But if it is a final expense appointment, a mortgage protection appointment, an IUL appointment, general life insurance appointment, remember why you're there, finish the job, don't get too excited. Just take it down as a note and then circle back to it later. I like what you said about, like, once that trust is built,
yeah,
like, you've already got them as a client. Now it's like the likelihood of them being open to sharing a statement with. It's like, I was sitting in the home and I was like, "Can you go grab a statement?" The guy's like, "No, like, I'm not going to go grab a statement for you right now." Like, "All right, well, let's get back to the mortgage protection." And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." So we got to just make sure that we're not skipping over why we're there, chasing the
yep,
whales. So if we chase the whales, we chase the home runs. I mean, if you only try to hit home runs in a baseball game, like, you strike out. Like, the people who are in the Hall of Fame for home runs also have some of the highest strikeout percentages out of anybody. So that's just something to consider. Okay, what does it look like to walk somebody through an illustration? What does it look like? Like, what are the main things that you're touching on in an illustration? And, what's that transition look like from illustration to actually, like, finalizing? Because I've written one, a couple small ones, and like that transition of, like, hey, we're just looking at an illustration to, like, hey, now let's send your money over to the annuity company. Like, what does that process look like?
yeah. It's a very tedious process, and it's a very like long-winded one. So it's kind of because I already built the trust in the beginning, and so we're in the illustration point. It's more just a conversation of foreshadowing a lot of things. Of like, hey, just so you know, we're going to show you some conservative numbers. We're going to go over some hypotheticals of what it looks like. Now, and like, I can't guarantee it's going to keep doing what it's been doing, but I can at least guarantee we're going to protect everything. And so I give a rough amount. I try to make it to where they feel at ease. So a lot of times, like, hey, what's a rough amount that you have in your account sitting there? And they'll say between like five, six, whatever the amount is, and I'll just put it in there for F&G or Athene or anything you want to use. And then once I put it in there, I just go through just like I would a normal IOL, the tour. I'm like, hey, this in your state of Maryland, you're going to get 20% bonus. So if you put 800K in, as soon as that money touches that account, it's going to go up to 960,000 and start building from there. And then I go, now the nice thing that I like about this annuity, sir, is that you see how this says 960K now, year one, and you see how your death benefit's 960K? If something was to happen to you without this and you had your normal 401K, what would happen is your family would have to go through probate. And then if they got that money through probate, they don't have to pay taxes and capital gains on that and stuff like that. So they get less. But every time your money actually increases, it's going to increase your death benefit, which mimics your cash value. And so if something happens to you, not only do you avoid probate, but your family gets it paid out to them tax-free and penalty-free within 24 to 48 hours of making a claim. So you're actually preserving your wealth and preserving your family's legacy doing this. And then I go, can you see how this could be potentially beneficial for you? And of course they go, yeah. And then I just foreshadow the next steps. I'm like, hey, if this looks like something that you want to do, it's not going to be a one and done. It's not going to be like we're done today. It's going to be a month, possibly 2 month process because there's multiple parties involved, and we got to make sure things are actually aligned correctly for your situation. So what I'm going to do is we'll pull up an application when you're ready, or we can schedule another call. I'll need some statements so I can make sure things are correctly aligned, and then we'll go through everything together and basically just foreshadow the next steps and schedule another call to do it, unless they're good right there, which is rare.
For definitely rare,
Yeah.
definitely rare. I mean, the biggest thing here, so it's like, to get to that point. So let's say you're explaining all the things correctly, you sold them an IUL, like, you've done all the things, but it's like, I feel like the number one reason that anybody's willing to go through this process is because they trust you.
Yeah.
Like you've done something to build up trust. So, we'll talk a little bit about like some of the things that like Lead Champ can do to like, build you up from a credibility standpoint, but it's not just that. Like you can have a verified underwriter website and people still not trust you because of the way that you sound on the phone and like the way that you're nervous or the way that you ask questions. So like what are some things that you do and like maybe how do you use Lead Champ on top of what you do to build trust and credibility with the clients?
Yeah, so after that first initial conversation illustration, I'll immediately send it to pull the illustration, download it, hit the what happened button, think about it, and actually let me take that back. First will click down like either Athene or F&G and send them an actual brochure of what we talked about, so that way they get email and text of like some bullet points. Then I'll immediately hit the think about it button, upload my illustration, and resend it to them that way, and then book an appointment for a solid like week out or like couple days that works best for them. And then I set detailed information on, hey, on this call, we're going to go need some statements. We're going to go through everything and redo the illustration to make sure it's aligned. And then if you have any additional questions, we can go from there. But at that same point, like your clients aren't going to be like to you, like there's another agent working on him too. And the fact that I had not only Athene, I had F&G, I also had Transamerica, I was able to pull up 3 illustrations and go over all the information with them and detailed what the other agent was actually not telling him that was truthful, but also tell him the reason why it wasn't truthful and give him the same illustration and build trust in myself because I'm giving them that education. And Lead Champ helps me with that because it takes me keep what could have took me like 3 hours, took me like maybe an hour to get everything put
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think about that, whether it's IULs or annuities and sharing illustrations. I mean, there really is a little bit more trust than just like, hey, I need a $10,000 policy. Here's my social security number, my bank account. Like, oh, if I die, it pays out. It's that simple. Okay, great, let's do it. I know how life insurance works. When you get into IUL and annuity, it's like there's more trust. So like what we need to do is we need to number one, build credibility up in ourselves. And that's where, having your Verify My Underwriter website for licenses and carrier affiliations and all that stuff is important. But I really do think an underutilized button. I think I overutilize it. I probably spam this button, but it really is the carrier send info button. If I'm on the phone with somebody and whether I am doing a think about it or I just made a sale, I always, always, always make sure to go click down to the specific company, the specific product. We now have over 400 individual products in the system, like some off the wall products some of y'all have never even heard of are in here just because random agents sell them. Where you can go in and you can find the most obscure Transamerica brochure, this, you know, whatever niche F&G annuity that you probably have never heard of, it's in there. And if it's not, we'll put it in there. And when you go to click, it's automatically going to send them a templated and branded version of an email and a text message that's like, hey, Dylan, insert company name, Americo, insert F&G, insert Athene, insert product name, insert their AM best score or whatever other credit worthiness, rating systems we've got their, scores put in there and then attached the company official brochure. So it's like, instead of like, hey, can you send me some more information? In the past, I'd have to go track down the brochure. I'd have to write up an email. I'd have to make it look good, bold, italicize, underline, try to look like a professional. I got other appointments. I got kids. Like
Yeah.
I wait till the end of the night. Now it's like I miss bedtime and I'm putting together 3 think about it emails. And it took me an hour and a half to write 3 emails because I was trying to look good. And the client might even ghost me and never talk to me again. I just spent 90 minutes doing this as opposed to click send, done. Okay, awesome. And then I do the think about it, and it's like, okay, I showed them 3 illustrations, or I showed them 3 insurance options, and I go put an option one, option two, option three, attach the illustration, and it's like, hey, Dylan, we met, today, and here's the 3 options I showed you. Here's the Transamerica one, here's the F&G one, here's the Athene one, with a link where they can click directly into the illustration that you showed them that you uploaded. So all of that, again, I look back to when I was in the home, and my persistency was so high in the home because I was the guy who left behind a folder with my business card and took a selfie and put a sticker on the front and wrote their name on it and all the things like, hey, when you die, tell your daughter to find the red folder in your safe. And it's like when you do telesales, like What I was competing with in the home is I was competing with somebody who was like, yeah, the last agent wrote my policy number on a sticky note, this crumpled up napkin, and they gave me a business card and they left. And I'm like, okay. And then it's like, no one was ever replacing my policy because of the credibility. Same thing. Again, like I've had many people over the last few months where they're like, hey, I talked to another agent and they literally showed me the exact same quote as you for the exact same company. And I'm going with you because they didn't have a great way to show me their license. They didn't have a great way to show me their carrier affiliations. I didn't actually know that they were who they said they were. And
Yep.
I didn't trust them and I didn't trust their affiliation with the company. And I had never heard of Americo, which many of our clients have never heard of some of the companies that we work with outside of Mutual of Omaha, Transamerica, John Han. Like they haven't heard of these companies because they're not really advertised on commercials. Like
Yep.
unless you're selling like Aetna and Mutual of Omaha, most of our clients have never heard of who we work with. So like we have to be able to show credibility. So again, like all of these little micro features, not one single one of them is going to help you make the sale like that. There's something about you that has to push it over the edge, but all these little things help so that there's less red flags. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know about you, but trying to find a brochure through Moo or National Life Group, good luck.
Yes. So I will say shout out to Justine and Gia and the rest of the Lead Champ team who they went treasure hunting to find all of these brochures. So now we have a new rule that if anybody has a product that we do not have, you have to send us the brochure. You have to find it. They're done treasure hunting. They did 400 of them, so they're all done. So if you
That's
have
smart.
one, send it to us and we'll put it in there. Okay, Dylan, let's kind of transition here a little bit. Let's just talk more generalized lead champ, for the users that are on here. What are the features that you use that help you be the most productive? Like what are the most, ROI generating features that you think we have here?
Oh man, there's a ton. There's a ton.
Give me your top two.
Top two definitely is always like the like carrier buttons is like what like just saying information, and then the think about it. Like the think about it is probably the most used tool I ever use, and I get a lot of follow up because people forget after 2 days, and then send that next text out, and they just kind of jogs their memory. And like I don't know, there's times where I had someone like recently, 2 years ago, a client I put in to think about it. And he hit me up going, hey, I've been trying to find your information. Like I just for some reason they never got the text, and then all of a sudden they got the text, and then I stole a $2,400 policy off of it. So like the whole system was replaceable. But yeah, definitely the think about it and the carrier brochures have saved me a ton of time.
Yeah, the thing about it in general, the philosophy that I was taught when I first got started, I remember I left, I think it was my second or third appointment, and I called Grady Polson and I was like, hey, Grady, I just met with this family. I quoted them each $200 a piece. If I make this sale, it's going to be like 4,800 bucks. It's going to be amazing. They said that I was great, that they loved me, that they would love to talk to me again. If they ever decide to buy insurance, that they would buy it for me, but they just really needed to think about it. So I'm going to follow up with them next week. And he's like, Jamie, stop talking. If you know Grady, like you can hear him saying this, like, Jamie, stop talking. Because I can count three people in my entire career who have ever called me back that said they wanted to think about it. He's like, if you don't close them in the house, you will never speak to them again. And he was just real doom and gloom about it. And there's about 98% truth to that in the world of in-home. But when we went to telesales, everything changed because at the end of the day, like if I'm sitting there in the home, like there's a lot of psychological things you can do to close the sale. You don't want to leave the home. I'm not driving back there. Like there's a lot of reasons why we did what we did, but also we're leaving a lot of money on the table in telesales because we do get a lot of think about it. So when you have this philosophy of if I don't close them on the phone right here, right now, every time, you are leaving a lot of money on the table. And one of the things that I found with moving to telesales is if you truly can convert, like most people think about it as bullshit. Most think about it's a cop out excuse of I don't want to buy the insurance. But there's a very rare portion of people who actually want to think about it, who actually are willing to think about it. And the ones who do think about it and follow up with you and buy, they will never cancel.
Yep.
That is a client for life. Because if it took them, like I think of it like if it took me that much to get in the gate and get them to make a decision, it's going to take that much for some agent to come behind me and try to replace the business. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like, good luck coming here and replacing whatever I did because of how hard it was for me to get the business in the first place. So, like, I think about it really truly is um, somebody that's going to be a client for life. And taking somebody over the edge when they really did want to think about it is a chargeback.
Yeah.
It is. So if you can take that person, you're guaranteeing they're going to stay on the books. If you push them too hard, it's going to turn into a chargeback. So there's a percentage of people, like we talked about. Again, there's not one feature in Lead Champ that I think is going to save your business. It's the compound effect of a bunch of little things, things that we all know we should do. We all know we should follow up. We all know we should call our no shows. We all know we should do this, should do this, should do that. Who has time for that? I don't.
Yeah.
Not only do I not have time for that, I am not smart enough. I do not have a good enough memory. I'm not disciplined enough to do like 90% of the things that I know that I should do. There's a reason why when you become a top producer, the first thing outside of figuring out your lead flow is to hire an admin of some sort, somebody to help you along the way. For me, that first admin was somebody who her only job was to call the clients 48 hours later to let them know they were approved, to call them 7 days later to let them know their policy was coming in the mail, to call them 30 days later to see if they had any questions and they wanted a review, and to basically monitor my inbox for canceled policies and help me figure out who I needed to go ahead and save.
Yep.
All of that stuff was something you hire a staff member for. But then I found out even my staff members, it doesn't matter if I pay them, they're still human too. Agency started growing. I got one girl who's helping out with clients, but she's also helping out with contracting. And then I find out that contracting was getting so busy that she's like, I forgot to send the emails and the text messages and the phone calls 48 hours, telling them they're approved. And I'm like, hey, like I told them we were going to call them in 48 hours. And then we didn't call them. We called them 4 days later. And they want to cancel, not because we did anything wrong. They want to call because we didn't do what we said we were going to do.
Yep.
So by putting technology and automation and different things in place, we take emotion out of it. We take, do I feel like it out of it, especially no shows. Like I was getting no showed, a bunch of times. And when I was working off paper, I'd take that lead if they no showed me twice and I would crumple it up in a piece of, in a ball and I'd throw it in the trash and I'm never talking to this person again. Whereas with Lead Champ, unemotionally click the no show button. I've had one guy. I wish I could go find this lead for us right now, but it's not going to be timely for me to go search for it. 17 no shows. And some of y'all can vouch for this. 17 no shows. The guy just kept on not showing, kept clicking the button, kept no showing, kept rescheduling, which was the most ridiculous part. And I could never get a hold of him when I wanted to talk to him. But then he finally answered, and it was a $200 a month sale.
Yep.
So it's like, how many no shows can we convert back onto the schedule? How many think about it? So if I close one think about it a week, one think about it a month, if I get 4 no shows a week back on the schedule, if I get one not now that hits me up every 3 months, like all of those things, the ROI are things that I would never have done before. Or again, we talk about beneficiary button. I spent $1,000 on leads. I got 100 leads. I closed 10 policies. I made 10 grand. Fantastic. Okay. But I got 10 beneficiaries. Really, if I'm really good, I got 20 beneficiaries. And that turned into another 5 or 10 appointments, another 2 or 3 thousand. So it's like if I were to get a beneficiary in every appointment, could I increase my premium by 25%?
Yeah.
Probably.
Probably.
But again, even then, I'm still a human, and we make it super easy. But I would say the way that we've built out the beneficiary button and referral, it's easier than doing it without the button, but you still have to do it. You still have to remember to do it. You still have to be disciplined enough to do it on every appointment. But it's a lot easier than let me write down their name on a financial inventory. That financial inventory goes into a pile of papers on my desk. And then I'm like, I'll call them next week when I have time.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Never once. Or I'm going to create this nice approval message and then I forget. Like it's not going to happen. So we take emotions out of it, just fill out forms, click the buttons, move on. Like we're moving fast. We're all lead junkies who want to talk to the next person. But we need to make it. I know a lot of you actually care about your clients, and I'm sure there's some of you who don't, which is fine. Lead Champ will make it at least seem like you care about your clients. Whether you do or you don't, it'll at least portray the illusion that you do. If you just do the things, people will at least assume that you care enough to follow up. So, anything else, Dylan, that you would say, little nuanced features or anything that I didn't mention that anybody might want to know about?
I mean, I've used a lot of systems and like a lot of CRMs, and your guys' AI and like the way you guys have it built for a go high level standpoint is second to none. And I always tell people that all too. Like I have other CRMs I have to use for my team, obviously, but like they're like, well, let's just go high level. I'm like, well, yeah, you're looking at the foundation of it. That's true, but like if you compare apples to an orange, you're not going to get what you really want. Like literally the amount of stuff you put into it and custom coded and go high level because I'm a techie type of dude, like you're not gonna get this anywhere else. You can go somewhere and it might be sugarcoated as it's the same thing, but it really isn't. It's just helped me in so many different ways, and it really catapulted my business since I joined Lead Champ about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, as a techie guy, you could have built this yourself. Like, I fully believe you
Oh
could
yeah,
have. But like, also, what's the opportunity cost of you stopping to build something like this yourself? Is you don't sell anymore. Like, you're not able to build your agency. So, at the end of the day,
yeah,
yes, you could build something like this, 100%. Josh and I are probably 300K into development of this system. People are like, how is that even possible when you're building like on a go high level? It's possible. Trust me,
yeah.
it is 100% possible. And also the opportunity cost of what I could have sold, what Josh could have sold in building this. We have a more long term vision of how this is going to help our agency, and obviously we're grateful to help other agencies as well. But it did there was a huge opportunity cost for us on how our agency could have grown or how much I could have sold twice as much last year if we weren't building this, but my retention might have been less. So there's a handful of things that it's like, do you want to build it yourself or have somebody else build it? And then the other part is I still sell today. I sold 65 grand last month. It's like I'm still selling. And it's like we built every single feature in this from the perspective of people who still sell. There's a lot of little widgets and CRMs and lead vendors and whatever else. And no offense to them because I pay them a lot of these people a lot of money. But it's like most of them are failed insurance agents. No offense to them, who then decided they wanted to sell stuff to insurance agents. We have 29,000 agents in just our IMO. We work with probably 10 different IMOs with Lead Champ. But they see a million life insurance agents and they go, if I could sell a million life insurance agents something a $99 widget, I'll be a millionaire and I won't have to deal with chargebacks or sell insurance anymore. That's not our goal at all. Like I make my money selling insurance. My goal is to build my agency to a point where it's where I want it to be. And every single piece of this is we don't launch a feature unless we use it. Like we're not taking random polls out there. Hey, what would be a cool feature that you guys think would be cool? And then just throwing up random shit at the wall. I'm like, I have a problem. This is annoying. I'm sick of doing this thing over and over and over again, or doing this thing that I know I should do is super inconvenient. How can we automate it? From the perspective of people who actually sell. And we also only take like new feature ideas from people who actually sell. So if you have if you have a good idea, please make sure that you've got a little bit of credibility in the reason why that's a good idea, as opposed to just it sounding like a good idea. So at the end of the day, this is built by agents for agents, and we want to make everybody's experience as good as possible. So Derek says, "Why are none of my ideas ever taken?" Sorry, Derek. There's other reasons than just selling a high level. Okay. Any final words of encouragement? Like there's some people on here, Dylan, that are lead champ users, some people who are just kind of thinking about it. Let's talk to maybe the people who are just thinking about whether they should use lead champ or not.
Yeah, so if you really want to catapult your business and do something, like Lead Champ's going to be the way to go because you're going to keep your front and focused. You don't have to worry about all the crazy, tedious stuff. And it helps you kind of learn a little bit more because you can just send out brochures and do other things. But another thing is like don't be afraid to fail and like mess things up either. So like what I mean by that is like you don't need to go out and buy expensive annuity leads. Like just work your current book of business, intertwine a couple more questions, and just continue to just learn and adapt, and then you'll find success. Um, there was one more thing I wanted to touch on, but I lost it. So
That's all right. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us. If you're going to be in Arizona, we would love to see you at the Lead Champ Mastermind that we've got going the day after the event. Even if you just come over for an hour, half hour, or you want to hang out with us for the whole day, we will be there. We'll also be at the event. We are going to be running a new agent special at the event. So anybody that you're like, hey, I want to get them a discount code if they get it at the event. We only run these at events, and it's like pretty significant first month discounts. So we definitely want to help you out there. And otherwise, we're here every single Wednesday. We've got this live dial room that is running, combination of, my insurance agency, Living Hope, and any other lead champ users that kind of want to come together and dial and sell together. They'll be in here all day. And otherwise, if you're stuck in onboarding anything, you can always go to the website and book a demo with Nick. Book some time with him. Nick is fantastic. He'll help you out. You can also go to the Start Here button in the top left corner. Make sure you follow all those steps. And right at the bottom, there's a spot where you can book with our team if you have any questions. And then, of course, you can always reach out to myself or Josh if you guys need any help or if you have any questions. Dylan, thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you guys on Live Dials, and we'll see you next week on this call live. Talk soon,
Sounds
guys.
good. Thanks, guys.